Welcome to Ambassador in the Marketplace, where we correct your misconception and we encourage you to thrive in the marketplace. As advertised, I've got my guest with me today, Dr. Marcia Thomas, who will be sharing with us our experience in the marketplace. As you're aware, I'm not very good in introductions, so I will get Dr. Marcia to introduce herself and tell us a little bit about herself. Please welcome with me today Dr. Marcia Thomas.
Nice to be here. Thanks so much for having me also. I am Dr. Marcia Thomas. I am a Christian leadership consultant and life coach, and I really specialize in helping faith-based introverted female leaders recover from life trauma and pivot with power. I am also a trainer, a facilitator, and an author. My latest book was A Leader Like You, Harnessing Your Leadership Superpower as a Christian Career Professional. I have 3 other publications that are related to storytelling and how children can use their stories to become masters of their own destiny and to evaluate their context, their problem, and it's in the form of a textbook, comprehension textbook. And then I also have a newsletter and a blog and a YouTube channel. I am a mother of 2 grown children, and I am a very attentive wife, and I have been a Christian all my life. I believe that the greatest ones of men are men who cannot be bought or sold, men who are true to duty as a needle to the pole, men who in their innermost souls are true and honest. And I think that is really lacking.
Wow, amazing. Thank you for telling us about yourself and some of your resources. I'll get straight into it. Why this career pathway? What factor influenced your decision to start to coach introvert women, and why women in particular? Please share it with your audience.
All right, I have been 25 years and a little more in the corporate world as a Christian female leader, particularly in education and community service. I also master in strategic planning and management. And during my years as an educator, as a leader, Christian leader and a female, I found that there were times when I really questioned who I can actually reach out to and how can I lay down the weight or responsibilities of leadership as a female leader, the composite responsibilities of being a wife, a mother, of being a leader, of having so many persons expecting from you and you having to meet these expectations, having to be strong despite the fact that you are fearful, having to show up, having to be that beacon of strength for other people, and not being able to share how you're really feeling, take a break or step away without being seen as giving up or being seen as an imposter. And that for me, after I did some research, because I do have a research out there, I found that private people, females, persons who deal with their problems silently and quietly, who are not extroverted in relation to just telling every and anyone what they are going through and how they are feeling, really have a limited outlet to do this, because persons in themselves are very judgmental and they are not able to understand vulnerability and see it as a strength and as a way of meaningfully connect with people. And so when I lost 5 members of my family in 1 month, and I was not able to deal with that, very close members of my family, and not being able to share with persons, I realized that this is something I must take very seriously And so I launched my business fully because I started as a coach from 2015, helping persons, empowering people in general, free. But I found that as I gradually certified myself, saw and leaned towards that passion, I found that it came naturally to me. And there were always persons who came to me who were very private people, who found that they could confide in me. Those who I have assisted, I guided, and I helped to pivot. And after that, I realized that these were really the persons who I found my service resonated with well, and who I could meaningfully connect to, because I am a very highly introverted, private person. I am always out there, and so for that reason, you show up unapologetically. People feel that you're not introverted, that you're not private, and that you're the show. But by yourself, you silently go through your issues. You try to find the ways in your issues to deal with it, and that's what happened.
Amazing what you just said. So what's the biggest ongoing challenge you faced or you are facing in your business or in the consultation world? And how are you tackling it? Because I'm sure you probably met people like, oh, you think you can take on the world, or you know, like maybe they refer somebody to you and somebody was like, I don't think you can help that person. You know, explain to our audience how you're handling it.
Well, one of the biggest challenge for me right here, because of my introverted nature, is sales and marketing. I am not a marketing person. I really need to get out there and market myself. I need to take my email list more seriously than I do, because most of my clients are referred to me. And they're usually referred by persons who benefit from my services and who know of someone else who would benefit, because that's really how networking goes. Persons tend to be attracted to persons like themselves. They tend to bond with persons with similar values or beliefs or experiences or situations or trauma, because the informal structure of any organization and any environment that you're in is greater than the formal structure, because it is generated by a bond of persons with the same needs and who are seeking similar solutions. And so each one reach one, and there's a strength that comes from being able to network and to meaningfully connect, even if it is to vent. And so my greatest challenge right now is marketing my services to a bigger population, to a wider cross sections of persons, so I can assist them. And I am presently dealing with a coach, a sales and marketing coach. I am also looking at, I have skills in how I can create my graphics and so on. And so I'm looking at persons who can assist me to perfect my art. And I also use other persons with that expertise and skills to help with my advertising. I have created a YouTube channel that actually I put out some shorts so that persons can be more au fait to what I do. I am on Instagram, and I have taken my Facebook page very seriously at this time. And so I am really helping myself. I know I will never become a marketer. I know I am not. That's not one of my passions or skills. But I know that I will have to up my game and master it to a certain level until I can actually pay persons to do it on a more consistent basis for me, drive persons to my business. Until that time, those are the things that I'm doing to overcome the challenge.
Sorry, I'm laughing because I can see myself all over that, because so it's different from when somebody say, oh, come and market yourself. I'm sure you refer people, you go like, oh, that's a fantastic person. I've worked with them, blah, blah, blah. But if they say as an introvert person, come and talk about yourself, you go like, okay, I'm not sure what to talk about here. And, and I'm glad about what you said. And I think I need to go down that road, because I'm one of those, I don't know how to market myself. I really don't like marketing, as in to do it myself, because I just freeze sometimes and I just go blank, and I'm like, but I've seen marketing people, it's like it just roll off their tongue, as in they don't even have to think about it, and I'm like, okay. So when did your journey of faith start? I know you mentioned earlier that you've been a Christian all your life, but sometimes, I don't know about other people, but when I was little, I was born into a Christian family, but I really didn't know God for myself, and that took a process. And just share with our audience your journey of faith.
Well, I was born in a Christian home that took Christianity very seriously. We had worship. They pointed us to Christ. My parents were very active in the church, and they thrust you into leadership, church activities very, very early. And then as I grew up in the church, I found that one of the issues that I had, and I wrote it in my book as my introduction, A Leader Like You, is that I questioned everything that just never sounded right. And so in my Sabbath school class, I just did not believe that a whale would have swallowed Jonah. And those issues, I had those types of issues. I couldn't accept that Joseph's brothers would actually sell him to someone or try to kill him. I did not believe that Samson actually used the lion's jawbone to do damage. I just did not accept those types of things. And then my mother decided that I would need a mentor. And so she gave me a lady that was very stoic and very knowledgeable in how to deal with, at that time, branded rebellious Christian children. And they were rebellious Christian children are really those who questioned everything, who never stood still, and who just could not be told to just do this and it was done. I was not one of those children. I was never unruly. I was not disrespectful, but I knew what the word no meant, that small word. And I knew that I was able to say, I'm not comfortable with this. And that lady, along with my mother, their patience and the ways in which they made what would be seen as many persons as a rebellious nature, defiant nature, appeared to be something that God really wants and would use, is what made me begin to look deeply below the surface of family worship and lesson study and the quarterlies that you have to use and the Bible text that you would memorize and know. Because I did that. I won every year. I did my morning watch and so on. I began to study Christ, this God who likes defiant persons, because that's what the lady really tell me. God specializes in the defiant. And so I began to read the stories. I got into the stories of Esther. I looked at Daniel and so on, because she referred me to those persons as defiant persons with a purpose. And it was at that end of that I found that I believed I had such a deep connection with God that it was time to really be baptized and begin to share the good news of this God who loved persons who were deep thinkers, who were very thoughtful in their approach, and who was not willing to be bought or sold by just the whim or opinion of someone. This is a God who wants you to know for yourself. And so he resonated with me on that level, because my greatest weakness, and maybe it's a strength, I see it as a powerful strength, is that I do not take anything at face value. And so when I'm convinced about something, it's because I have done enough to prove or gotten enough evidence and so it is difficult for me to change what I believe without sufficient evidence to change it. And I believe that is a steadying force in anyone's life, especially a leader who wants to be authentic and who wants to be the master of their own destiny.
Amazing. And I'm really touched by that story, because you mentioned two things about, finding out, you're knowing yourself. And, even the Bible said the Berean Christian, they didn't just believe. They went to go and check it out to find out that what Paul is preaching is actually correct and is scriptural. And it's the same that we don't take things on face value with people. And you also said something about being defiant with purpose. So it's okay to be defiant, and maybe and at this point, to our audience, maybe you got a child who you think the child is defiant and she always question everything, and you tell them to do something like, why, mommy? And you're thinking, I didn't get to say why to my parents, I just do what I'm told. And and it's okay to be defiant, and I think even in this generation you have to explain to people why you want them to do stuff.
I'm taking a break to ask you to please subscribe to my channel, like and share this program with your friend and network, and click the notification button. I hear you say, why should you subscribe? This channel is run with integrity, and my vision is to educate and correct misconception and myths about how to showcase your faith in the marketplace. When you subscribe, you will be the first to receive my next video and learn how to be authentic in the marketplace so you can be a good ambassador. Drop a comment in the chat box and let me know you have subscribed, and I will direct message you and send you a copy of my ebook called A Shrewd Wise Dove. Thank you for supporting this program, and I'm looking forward to see your comment and to read your comments. God bless.
So, what are the triggers of trauma or signs of them? How do we identify them so that we can help somebody who is probably in that space and they're not quite sure how to get out of that space of being, because they've had a trauma happen to them or something has happened to them. Please tell our audience.
Well, I want to look at it from this point of view, because I want even the small child to understand, because trauma is not a surface feeling. It is a deep emotional response to something that was so overwhelming that it almost caused your collapse. And that is why we cannot treat it as a symptom. It must be treated as a condition. So those are two things I want to put out there clearly. Now, there are three ways that people can be triggered that have experienced some trauma. And one such way is the sensory trigger. And this is a trigger where an environment can remind you of something that occurred that now makes you fearful. It can also make you have a panic attack. It can make you feel anxious. And these manifest themselves in different ways. Persons can get extremely irritable in a particular environment, can get extremely fearful in a particular environment. A loud noise or a shout or someone speaking angrily to them can trigger a feeling in them that puts them in a state of confusion or chaos or push them into going into themselves, so they become unresponsive. And that in itself is one of the ways that trauma is triggered. And those are some of the ways that persons respond. So you know that in itself is not a normal response. The next way that I think persons are triggered that are going through trauma, and research has shown it, is the emotional trigger. And so a lot of persons, for example, someone might have lost a significant other during the month of February. And so Valentine's Day brings with it this nostalgic feeling. The person goes into depression. The person is not able to accept a gift. And so you might find that the person might be so sad. There might just be another issue where a person might find themselves among a group of persons, and it triggers emotionally a time in their life where they experience some amount of shame or betrayal, and so they are not able to function comfortably in that group. There is a sense of helplessness that comes over them, and there's a lack of trust. And so they are not able to trust. And in relationships too, where persons have been betrayed, you find that they tend to question the new partner. They tend to need a lot of reassurance, and they tend to need a lot of proof. Then the final trigger is the situational trigger, where persons are placed in particular situations and they feel threatened in these situations that are normal situations or events or anniversaries. They attend a wedding and there is the outburst, there is a response that is not a normal response, and so on. Being in a crowded place, and they might react with panic. Those are some responses that appear to be normal responses of persons who experience trauma, but they are very complex in nature and cannot be dealt with at the surface. And so taking the person out of the environment in a very loving and supportive way, and also being patient, is two good ways to go. I would not recommend that when someone is displaying these symptoms as a result of trauma, that we begin to question people or we begin to reassure them that everything will be okay. Our actions are more important at this time than words. And so we must look at the signs, and we must ensure that they are in a safe place physically and a safe place mentally. So we listen to what they are saying to us, and we respond to what they are saying, and not what we perceive them to be saying or what we want them to say, or tell them what we think they want to hear. We must answer directly and honestly what they are expressing. And for those who shut away themselves, or who are not speaking, or who are so fearful and frightened, or are experiencing some anxiety that manifests itself in psychological or physical dispensations of not being able to breathe properly, intense migraine, and so on, we must refer them for help. We must get those experts and those support systems as the first step to guide them out. And then after, we can do the emotional work, and we can do the mental work that is needed, and so on.
Thank you so much. There is a lot packed in there. And I think what you said was so key in terms of how you deal with a person manifesting in that space or being triggered in that space. And, I think people see it, she's just sensitive, she's always like that. And that is not what is needed, because making the matter worse, really, because the person is already feeling like they already see me in a certain way, and you're almost confirming that, and that is just making the trauma even worse. It's like pouring, hot pepper on somebody's, wound, so to say. With what you just said to us, I saw something on your LinkedIn profile, and you said God wants you whole, nothing missing, nothing broken. And I'm sure somebody's listening to you that you just painted everything I'm just going through. So how is that even possible for me to be nothing missing, nothing broken? Can you unpack that for us?
Good. Well, God says higher than the human thought can reach is his ideal for his children. He says, I will never forsake you, neither will I leave you on your own. I am capable of making a way through the wilderness. I am capable of making the impossible possible. And I am very concerned about you because I hold you in peculiar regard. I particularly handpicked you. Every hair on your head I have numbered. And so I have prepared what I need for you to be very whole. The thing is, you have to accept it. You have to believe it. And so your mindset must be and must believe that whatever happens to me, everything works for the good of them that love God and who are called according to his purpose. Because he said, before you were born, I knew you. And I established what your end will be. Your life script was given to you by me. You must read the roadmaps and you must understand that anything that happens for you is for your edification, is for your growth, is for your preparation, is for your pruning. It is for your actual refining to take you where you must be. If we understand that and know that above all, he wishes that we prosper and be in good health, even as our soul prospereth, and have the mind that God's purpose must prevail, then we will take our setbacks and challenges and issues in stride. And we will learn the lessons from it. And we will grow towards the light that these experiences are pushing us and propelling us to. And we will do the work of him who sent us before it is day, because the night, while it is day, because the night cometh when we can do no work. And that is the context in which I know that God doesn't want us to be broken. And he doesn't want us to be in pieces, because there is nothing that we can face or we can approach that God has not made a way of deliverance. Nothing. Fear is a terrible, terrible setback from the devil. And that is why God says to you, I have not given you a spirit of fear. I have given you a sound mind. And when you are fearful, when you feel helpless, when you feel in doubt, use your mind. Because your mind, whatsoever you think in your heart, that is what you be. So if you feel that you're going to be defeated, you have already defeated yourself. And so he says, your mind must be conformed into the likeness that I have placed in it. So you must be transformed by the renewing of your mind, but your mind must be conformed to my plan and my will for your life. You must be careful for nothing, and you must also not be fearful, because your times are in my hand and your seasons have been prescribed by me, and there is nothing that I have planned for you or have prepared for you that you will not receive unless you reject it. The devil in himself cannot deter God's plan for you, but he can try, and that is why no weapon that is formed against you can prosper. And that's what he says. You will have tribulation in this world. You will be tried. You will be tested. you will be distracted. But if you focus on the fact that I am a faithful God and that my word will not return to me void, then your brokenness will not last, neither will any evil come nigh your dwelling that will take root, unless you forget how I have led you in the past. That's it.
I'm sure that somebody needed that right there. Somebody needed that. And thank you for actually, speaking the word directly to our audience, and it's very key. And it also leads me to something I would like to ask. What will you say to people who have been hurt in the marketplace by a person who professed to be a Christian? Because, where the trauma that we're talking about actually was inflicted by a Christian, or somebody who professed to be a Christian. What will you say to a person, say they've come to you and they've expressed that feeling to you? What will be your encouragement, or how to actually get them to connect again to Christians and to God?
It's such a strange thing that you asked this question, because my newsletter for this week is actually dealing with that topic. How can Christian leaders navigate being hurt or being betrayed or challenged by colleagues, Christian colleagues in their workplace? And I have been looking at the story of David. David gives us perfect examples of how he has been hurt by persons of his own, and he even expressed it in the psalm. He said, my foot almost slipped. I was so devastated because it was not a stranger. It was my equal that affected me. But he says, if we are to explore the psalm and go down in the psalm, because you belong to God, you must trust the process. You must trust the processor, and you must trust the processing. God allowed this particular person to have this encounter with you and for you to experience this, because you are either part of the problem or you are part of the solution. So how are you looking at it? If you are part of the problem, what is it that you need to desist from doing to keep generating this person, to keep nurturing this person, to keep fulfilling this person? Is it that this person has done it to others with your approval? And by your approval, I mean, have you been silent because this person did not do it to you? But now that it is being done to you, there is some irritation. Have you been silent? Have you allowed this type of behavior to push through? And has God now have to give you a wake-up call to say, this trait in anyone, including this person that you're so close to, is not a good trait. It's not something that you must tolerate by looking the other way or ignoring. It is not something. Or can it be that I need to learn or develop a trait that God wants me to develop to take me to the next level of my business? Can it be? Because there is someone who had prayed to God and asked for patience, and God gave him a contentious neighbor. If you miss, because sometimes we ask for things in our prayers and we expect it to be served to us on a platter, but God gives it through these experiences and through these people. So what I would say to them is, look very carefully. Take a hard look at the lessons that God is teaching you, because you belong to him. And he processes you in the best way that he knows how. And sometimes he has to use his people for us to get the wake-up call, for it to stick, and for us to learn the lesson that he wants us to learn in a lasting way, that we are able to move forward. He is a God that uses whatever means he needs to use in his purpose and according to his will to bring us to the realization of where we are standing, where we need to be going, what we need to let go of, and who we want to let go of. Some of these persons that we feel attached to and we feel connected to and we feel are a part of our future. God allows them to show themselves to us because they are wolves in sheep clothing. So we can shed those baggages that we don't need and move forward. All things work together for the good of those who love God, not some. All things. And every experience is for learning, is for an edification, it is for an admonition. It is also for our refining and for our rebuke, because sometimes if these things don't happen to us, we don't know ourselves, and our reliance on people and things that we have exchanged for understanding that we must rely on God.
I'm taking a break to ask you to please subscribe to my channel, like and share this program with your friend and network, and click the notification button. I hear you say, why should you subscribe? This channel is run with integrity, and my vision is to educate and correct misconception and myths about how to showcase your faith in the marketplace. When you subscribe, you will be the first to receive my next video and learn how to be authentic in the marketplace so you can be a good ambassador. Drop a comment in the chat box and let me know you have subscribed, and I will direct message you and send you a copy of my ebook called A Shrewd Wisdom. Thank you for supporting this program, and I'm looking forward to see your comment and to read your comments. God bless.
And I like what you said about, the process, the processor, and the processing. So you're going through obviously a process, and God, the processor, is processing you. And sometimes the process is not. It just reminds me when he says that he puts you in it's like being in a furnace. Some people feel like they're in a furnace, and it's like, yeah, I'm processing you, and that's how I've chose, or that's my decision, how I process you. And sometimes about looking like, okay, why is this happening, and what am I meant to be learning? Or have I triggered something? And if I've not triggered, it might be the other person, and God is trying to let me know, okay, step away from that person. Amazing. Well, we've come to the end of our recording. We've come to the end of today's Ambassador in the Marketplace, and this is the part where I would love you to tell our audience about your products and your services. How can they get hold of you? If you can support them, if they need a coach, if they need a mentor, if they need to get hold of your book, and definitely your newsletter that is coming out. I'm sure somebody would like to read and find out, especially if they've experienced somebody who's taught them even in the marketplace. So tell our audience about your products and services, please.
Well, number one, my book, A Leader Like You, has been on Amazon, and so you can purchase from Amazon, or you can DM me. I also have a blog, which is a leader's devotional. I give you a theme, and I give you 3 actions that you can use for collective well-being and personal well-being in your organization, and I give a prayer at the end of that blog. And we can view it on LinkedIn, on Facebook, and at drtpmotivate2.com, which is my website. I also have a newsletter that I have had for a year on LinkedIn. In that newsletter, I look at giving Christian leadership tips, and I deal with these topics that are not dealt with normally. And so I look at this. Last week, I looked at how you deal with, as a Christian leader and career professional, how you actually deal with persons who are highly sensitive in your workplace. I look at wellness leadership, confrontational leadership. I look at egotistical leadership, servant leadership. I look at what differentiates a Christian leader in a workplace. as against others. So there are different issues that I have looked at and raised, because I look at issues that persons don't normally look at as Christian leaders, because those are not there. So I look at pain points, and I look at offering strategies and solutions in my newsletter, which you can subscribe to on LinkedIn. I am a coach. I do one-on-one coaching. I have a Pivot with Power program for female leaders, introverted leaders. It is a 3-month program, and it is really customized to meet the needs of introverted female leaders who have experienced some trauma, life trauma in general, which would be workplace or life in general, and who wants to pivot with power, which includes career transition, persons who are going through a divorce, although they are leaders, persons who have been isolated or rejected by certain aspects of their workplace, who might have suffered some injury, who feels that they have been set back, and females in midlife who feel that they would want to transition, and housewives whose lifestyle changed and they now have to find a way to transition into making an income for themselves. And so those are just some of the programs that I have. I also do group training and counseling and coaching also in relation to power strategies for achieving more and stressing less. And I am a motivational speaker, so I can also be invited if you want to deal with topics, life topics, and also motivational topics, inspirational topics for your workplace, for families, for organizations and industries. I also do motivational speaking. And those are really the sum total of my services. I do an audio live on LinkedIn on a Tuesday at 7:15 a.m. to 8 a.m. And there I specifically deal with issues, industrial issues that affect the workplace and Christians in a workplace, and how Christian leaders can navigate and make the difference in those workplaces. Wow. I can be contacted at drtpmotivateme2@gmail.com, or you can DM me using LinkedIn or my WhatsApp button on Facebook.
Thank you so much for telling our audience about your services and how they can connect with you. As I usually say, Dr. Marcia Thomas Powell is running a business, and so she is not doing it for free. However, you can have a chat with her and see what her services and her charges are. And if the Holy Spirit tell her to bless you, she will do so. But I guess it's not to expect that it is a free service. Before we sign out, I know there's somebody out there, they are, in that space where they've just gone through a trauma, whether they've, the loss of a loved one, they just been involved in an accident, they just had, a gas explosion somewhere, or they've just been emotionally, affected by something. Please, can you speak a word over them or pray for them as you feel led as we close out this afternoon? Thank you.
I want to say to that person, and I feel pulled to say to that person that might be stuck or struggling at this time, that might be hurting, that might be feeling helpless or hopeless. I want to say to that person, God will never fail you. God loves you too much to fail you. He will never give up on you. So just be still and know God, and know that He's working it out for your good. And also know that God is saying to you, I have heard your cries, and I am working the best plan for you. Trust me. That is what God is saying to you today. It may seem impossible, It may seem as if I'm far from you, but know this: I will never leave you nor forsake you. Never. You're in my hands. I have you covered. And I just want you to remember that no good thing will I withhold from you. And whatever you are losing or you feel you have lost will be multiplied. I am just preparing you. Trust the process. Trust the processor. And trust the processing. Your light is at the end of that tunnel. I have opened a door for you that no man can shut. Just believe me, just trust me, and just act when I say you're to act.
Amen. Thank you so much. Thank you. Well, to our audience, thank you for joining us. God bless.